Hello friends and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to spend some time here in the shade garden underneath the forest pansy redbud, which is looking pretty spectacular these days. We have got quite a few bit of chores to do. We are going to take out some Florida Sunshine Elysium. We are going to replace it with a native. It is a Paisley Pup dog hobble. We are going to plant some really cute, fun, we call them Solomon seal. They're ruby slippers, but they're Solomon seal. We're going to do that. We are going to trim our autumn ferns because we've got lovely new growth popping up. So we're going to do that. And we are going to add a Japanese maple in a container to the garden. Yes, there is lots to do, so we need to get started. Let me give you just a quick little overview. Oh, yes, and we are going to prune the edgeworthia that is right here as well. So lots of things to do. We do have this shade garden underneath the gorgeous forest pansy redbud. Right now it may not look too much like a shade garden because there is a ton of sun right here. We of course are at the very beginning of April, and the forest pansy is in full bloom and is beautiful. She has started to drop just a little bit of her petals because I can see some pink on the floor here. But as soon as she leaves out with her big heart-shaped, deep purple burgundy leaves, then this definitely will be in the shade garden. Especially the further you go back, it is in the shade. Now, what's so fun about this bed though is this section right here is considered a full sun bed because this is west, and so sun sets here, and so it gets a lot of hot afternoon sun. So literally in this bed, I have from full shade to full sun, a little bit of everything. So like I said, we're going to trim the edgeworthia. Then we're going to walk up here. I do have some ruby slippers that we are going to add. We're going to add it right here behind the rectangular hummingbird feeder, not feeder. I always call it a feeder. It's not a feeder, it's a planter. So ruby slippers, I do love a great Solomon seal. So ruby slippers is going to be part shade to full shade. Likes it nice and damp. This is hardy in zones 3 to 9. It's going to be about 21 inches tall, and it says to space them, 10 to 20 inches apart. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just jam them in there because, so here you have a ruby slippers that is really a nice specimen. So it's called ruby slippers because it has those red stems. And in that classic Solomon seal, those are the little flower buds. They will open up and be a sweet little bell-shaped to them. Solomon seal will have a natural arching habit to it, so they all kind of point in the same direction, so I will try to plant them that way. But they're very shallow, like they have, this is a great example. This one is alive, it's coming up, but you can see this, their roots are right on the surface of the soil. So I'm not gonna have to plant these very deep at all. So we're gonna kind of fill in this area right here with those guys. Then we have a celebration Japanese maple that is going to go in this unique stone pot. We are also going to use the Proven Winners, the Aquapot Light insert, so that will turn this container into a self-watering container, because while there is irrigation in this bed, I'm not having irrigation in this container. I'll explain more later as we do that. Then as we make our way to the back, I have got, you can see my Brilliance autumn ferns. They are all right through here. Look at all that beautiful new growth. Those fronds are just happy. Perfect time to come in here and get rid of all the last year's foliage that is, starting to lay down to make way for all this beautiful new growth. And then last but not least, we are going to take out these Florida Sunshines. You can see they are on the struggle bus. These two especially just have not done well at all. They've gotten smaller as the years have gone by. And then these two have done decently well. This is definitely the worst they look during the year because, as you can see, they've been getting so much sun because the forest pansy isn't leafed out. They'll do this every year. They bleach out. They'll get some burn on them. As soon as the forest pansy leaves out, then they return and they're okay. I just don't like this. I just don't like this. So they're not doing as well. So we're going to take those out and we are going to put in over here the new Paisley Pup Dog Hobble. This is from Proven Winners. This is a native shrub. It is an evergreen shrub. It will have a beautiful color to it. Now, you will notice there was 3 left over when the nursery closed in the fall, and so I grabbed them. So there was a little bit of winter damage to them, a little bit of burn. That's what that brown is, just a little bit of that winter damage. They will be fine. If that bothered you or it bothered me, I could easily just snip it off. It doesn't bother me. The plant is nice and happy because it has got buds that are forming all over it. So your Paisley Pup, like I said, is that dog hobble. It is hardy in zones at 5 to 8. It'll be 3 to 4 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet wide, and it can handle that 4 to 6 hours of sun. So it's going to be more sun tolerant than those Florida Sunshines. And I have 4 Florida Sunshines in there, but I only have 3 Paisley Pups, which I think will be just fine because they get wider. And then of course my ferns have really started to grow, and then I've got some other fun ferns in here that Mimi gave me. So I think 3 will be just fine. So what we're going to do is today is Monday morning, and Monday mornings sometimes are they're a little rough around here because coming off of the weekend and the nursery and everything, we just get a little tired. So we are going to start with the easiest and work our way up to the hardest. And the hardest being taking out the Florida Sunshines and putting in the Paisley Pups, because that way I can at least say, okay, I've already gotten 3 out of the 4 things checked off my list, and it just makes me feel better. Whatever motivates you in those gardening tasks, just do it. Sometimes I like to start with the hardest and work my way to the easiest. Today we're going to go in reverse. So what we're going to do is we are going to prune the edgeworthia first. So I'm going to set the camera up, show you how easy it is. All right, my friends, so here we have an edgeworthia. Edgeworthia is also known as a paper bush. It is a fantastic shrub. Clearly it loves being here because it has gotten quite large. We love edgeworthia, of course, because in late winter, they will put on the coolest flowers. They're downturned, they're clusters of kind of that cream and that orange flower, and the smell is absolutely intoxicating. It is divine. I had so many pictures on social media this past winter of this thing when it was in full bloom, and it, like I said, the smell is intoxicating. The rest of the season, it's going to have these really nice, lovely, soft green leaves on it, and that's basically what it is. Now, your edgeworthia does really well. Mimi has them in her dry shade garden, and they're huge. This one gets hot afternoon sun. It's on irrigation. It's in kind of a wet area, and it is doing great. So they're very, very adaptable to their situation. If you're going to do dry shade, obviously you just kind of need to pay attention for the first, year or so to make sure it gets really well established. Because this thing is so happy, I am going to prune it. Now, if you have it in an area like Mimi does, and she's got plenty of room, she never prunes hers. But I love this plant. I want to keep this plant here, so I'm going to have to do a little extra work and keep it pruned. So it is very simple. It is just like any other shrub. When you prune it, you want to wait to do it after it flowers. It's definitely done flowering, and so we're just going to cut it back. I can see it has like these little white marks where the where those leaves are going to pop out. At that point, you really, optimally you would prune like right above it, but there's those little leaf nodes are everywhere. So basically, I'm just going to bring this thing back by probably at least half. And so just go in there and cut, right? I'm going to try to touch about every single limb on here and keep this baby under control, so that way she doesn't take over the entire bed, and will be a good neighbor for all of her other friends that are in here. So I'm just going to prune it back. I'll show you what it looks like at the end, and then we'll move on, and we're going to plant the Ruby Slippers Solomon Seal. My friends, it's as simple as that. Just go around, put your clippers on every single branch, bring it back, pick out what size you want it, and bring it back to that point. Again, do not prune your edgeworthia in late summer or into fall, early winter, right? We want this to flower. We want those fragrances to waft through the garden. So wait until after it flowers, then you can prune it, but only if you need to. Again, I'm having to constrain it to where it needs to be. That is all right. I love it. So definitely an easy peasy one. Checked off the list. Now let's go put ruby slippers in the ground. All right, my friends. So what we have is I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 basically quart-sized containers of the ruby slippers. And I want to kind of fill them in right back here behind the trough. I have got a fern that is coming up right now. I've got another hoster right here that is coming up. These spring flowering bulbs, they will die back. To the best of my knowledge, I do not have anything planted right here. Of course, there's a beautiful Diamond Lake hosta behind me. And then it's so fun because right behind the trough, there is a pulmonaria. This is either pink and blue or it's spot on, whichever one that I have over there. Did not know that this would reseed, but clearly there is, because there is one right there, and I guarantee you I did not plant it right there. So we're going to leave it. It is very happy right there. It's doing her thing, so we're going to leave it. We're going to work around it. Like I said, your Solomon seal, they form like colonies. They will spread. They are not invasive whatsoever, but they slowly spread by those rhizomes, and they all will arch in the same direction. So I will try to plant them in that way, but I'm going to plant them kind of tight together. On the spacing, it says 10 to 20 inches. I definitely will go on the shorter side, that 10 inches, because I want to form a nice colony to begin with, and then I will let them spread. So what we're going to do is just move them out of the way. And I do not have my auger. I do not have a shovel. All I have is my little hand rake right here. So what I'm going to do is simply just pull back the mulch that I have. This is that Daddy Peat that we love so much. We're going to pull it back because I do not want to plant these very deep. If I do, then they may not come up and be as happy. Again, Solomon seal, they are very superficial as far as where those little rhizomes are. So I've gotten down to my native soil. I've got some beautiful earthworms right here. So this is where I'm going to be planting. And then what I'm going to do is take some of the biotone. It's a brand new bag, so it's kind of heavy. So I'm just going to do this. And I'm just going to take a couple of handfuls, and I'm just going to shake it in there. Then what we're going to do is, let's start with the biggest one. We're going to take it out, and really we're just going to kind of break up. They do have the roots on the bottom. Just break it up a little bit, get them snugged down in here, and just like that. Okay, so I'm going to kind of space them through here, and then I'm going to bring that mulch back. If I feel like I need to put a little soil in there, I do have some of that Black Gold Ultra Outdoor Planting Mix. I can easily sprinkle in there with this and then put the mulch back on top. But we're just going to get them kind of laid in here, snugged into their new home. All right, my friends, so we are going to plant a beautiful Japanese maple. So if you remember back in the fall, right after Helene, I ordered quite a few Japanese maples from our friends at Mr. Maple. They are a great source of all things maples. They really specialize in that. Mail order, they just do a phenomenal job. Like literally, this is how the plant arrived to me in, that would have been what, September, October when I ordered it. It sat in this container by my garage all winter long. She has leafed out beautifully and is doing fantastic. So you can order from Mr. Maple at any time. I love it because I don't know a lot about Japanese maples, so I was able to go through and I could search by my zone, I could search by my sun requirements, I could search by a ton of different things, and so I made my choices based off of how their website is set up and their searches, which I found really, really helpful. Now, if you are in the region, anywhere in this area, this Saturday, April the 5th, Mr. Maple has their open house. You can go and you can shop their nursery. I desperately wish that I could go, but I have my own nursery that I have to be at this Saturday. It might be a good thing that I cannot go in person because that could be a very dangerous cha-ching shop trip for me. So we're going to plant Celebration here. Celebration is going to go in this container, and so I'm going to, so I don't want to get any information mixed up. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Mr. Maple's website to tell you. Hardy in zones 5 to 9, like it says, leaves out in a vibrant pink purple hue to it. Very, what is it called? Reticulated ghost-like variegation. In early summer, it turns creamy with dark defined veins in the leaf. And then in the fall, that new growth returns to the vibrant pink purple, fall intense fuchsia red. So it says they expect Celebration to reach 10 feet in 10 years. Does really well in a container, and it performs best with its color when getting protection from the hot afternoon sun. So this will get plenty of morning sun. It gets the sun that it needs to have that beautiful color, but because the sun's back here and it sets, it is not going to burn. So we're going to put it in the container. Now, because like I said, yes, there is irrigation in this bed, and I easily could run an irrigation tube up through this pot, but I don't know that this is gonna stay here for long term. So what I'm using is the Aquapot insert from Proven Winners. So this is where you can easily take a traditional pot, put the insert in, and it will turn it into a self-watering container. Now I already did a little dry run, and this will fit perfectly down in the bottom. It is like the perfect width that fits in here. So the only thing I need to think about is this arm. So this is the water spout that comes up. So I would take my hose or my watering can and it easily comes apart so you can clean it. How about that? Oh dear Lord, this thing is just like coming apart right before my very eyes. Let's see if we can get this together. It will come apart, so you can take it apart and clean it if you need to. On the tip of the water spout, you have like a blue flower. It helps you find where the water spout is. Since I'm just going to be putting a Japanese maple in here, I'm taking that off. It just simply screws off, so that way I don't have this bright blue flower sticking out from my aquapot. And then you just want to make sure that it settles down quite nicely in there and will fit. There we go, like that. Get everybody in here. Boom. Now, I just got to make sure that my spout, yes, move my bags. If you can see, it's just right there at the lip, which is the perfect height. If it were too low, then I would need to put soil underneath it to raise it up a little bit because I need to be able to get to my water spout. Because it's the perfect depth, I don't need to put any soil underneath it. So what I'm going to do is just fill it up with Proven Winners potting soil, and I'm going to mix in the Black Gold Ultra Outdoor Planting Mix because this is a great source of compost. Japanese maples love compost, so we're going to mix all that together. I've got my biotone. We're going to mix all this together, get it planted, and then I'm going to top dress with the Daddy Pete, that soil conditioner, right? That aged pine bark fines, which is what I have as the mulch right here in the bed. So let's just get going. All right, my friends, so Celebration is planted and watered in. The one downside that I don't like about the aquapot inserts is you don't know when you have it completely full. Proven winners suggest getting a dowel rod before you fill it up, you know, like you plant it and to mark it where the water is full. I just can't. I just can't get my life together enough to do that. And then the dog would take the dowel rod and use it as a chew stick. So I just kind of go off the sound because you can hear there's a sound difference when you can tell that it's full. It sounds like it's getting ready to bubble over. So then that's just when I stop filling it up with water. But hopefully Celebration is going to be very happy here again. If for some reason she's not happy here, that's the great thing about having a container is that we can, a couple of us can heft it up and get it out of here and put it somewhere else. But I fully suspect that it's gonna be very, very happy here. It'll be a fun color, contrast, height, structure, completely different, and add a lot of interest to this garden. So that's all I need to do with it. Now we're gonna head and clean up the autumn ferns a little bit. Basically, I am going to see all the old yucky dead foliage. I'm gonna cut it as close to the ground as I possibly can, leave all those beautiful fronds up, and then I'm going to dig up all of those Florida sunshines. Mimi has requested that she wants them in her garden because she has a lot more shade. So they're going to find a new home at Mimi's garden. And then we're going to figure out how exactly we're going to place those paisley pups and get them in the ground. All right, my friends, so today's project is complete. So let's do a little tour in reverse of what we got done. So Jerry came in and helped me with this last little bit of the paisley pups, got them in, and they are there in the back. Of course, we have the autumn ferns with all of their sweet little foliage popping up, all those fronds. They will be filled in no time. And then I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if these are cinnamon ferns. Like I said, Mimi knows that she has complete authority and free reign to come in and put all sorts of fun little shade things in my garden. And so these are two of her ferns. I don't think they're cinnamon ferns. I think they are from their property in South Carolina. I will have to double check and ask her on that. But with the paisley pups being in here, we decided, you know, the three kind of this way. We did have the 4 Florida sunshines, but I think these 3, because they are wider, will be just fine. Now, I already know what you're thinking. Once these get to maturity, then they're going to cover up the ferns. And honestly, that's fine, because at that point, these ferns will be big enough, and they probably are right now, that they need to be divided. So we can dig them up, divide them, and kind of bring them forward, because there's nothing right here. So for this year, we're just going to let them grow and see how everybody comes together and is nice and happy. But yeah, I do love seeing my fronds unfurl with these beautiful ferns, and so that's really fun. Of course, everybody got, as we plant, everybody gets biotone. Then we added that black gold ultra outdoor planting mix, which is fantastic because it is gorgeous compost. It has that beautiful mixture of where it is well draining, but yet because it is that OMRI certified organic compost, it retains moisture as well. There is drip irrigation in here, but they're at the base of the old forest pansy tree. And so they're competing with the roots of this tree for that water. So while there is irrigation, there is still plenty of competition going on. And then, of course, got old Celebration in here, and just, it is going to be so much fun to see this kind of come to life. I love, though, when you look at, you kind of pull back and you look at this whole space. Now we have 3 Japanese maples. So you've got Celebration. Then remember, this is the Emperor one, and then back there off to the left of the fountain, that is the Flamethrower. So we have got 3 Japanese maples kind of in a rough triangle here. I would love to say that it was completely planned. It was not. But tying in everything because, you know, I want you to keep in mind that Jerry and I, when we built our house 21 years ago, we've been in the house for 21 years. So when we built 22 years ago, we built in the middle of a field. Like, there was no trees. Like, when you look at our property, this was a field. So any kind of these trees that you see in the interior, we planted. And so we're finally, I feel like, starting to like get the gardens to kind of like snug in and give us some privacy, which is fantastic. Sometimes I think it's almost harder to have a complete wide open blank slate, and then you're trying to plant and create structure, as opposed to if maybe you already had some structure there. So we are definitely getting there, and it makes my heart really happy. We have been working on this bed. My mama and I love spending time in the garden in this bed, and so the labor of love is coming to fruition, y'all. If you see a blank spot down here on the ground, do not fret, my pet. There are perennials galore in here, and in a month from now, you will not be able to see anything on the ground. There will be no empty space. You know, yes, in the winter we do have some structure here, but no, I don't. The prime time, of course, is the summer in this bed, and that's totally fine with me. I don't have to have, you know, massive structure year round. Because, you know, we're not out here entertaining in the dead of winter, so that's all fine. But having that nice Celebration in there, and then of course ruby slippers back here, that's going to be really fun to see it come along quite nicely. I'm hoping that they will just absolutely take off. I love their little spot here. Fill in. It will be a really pretty kind of backdrop to this hummingbird planter. I will, this is kind of was my fall winter, you know, creation in this container with my ascot rainbow, and then of course with the euchras. Those will come out at some point. We'll put them in the landscape somewhere, and then we will do, you know, a nice, put annuals in here and have a nice annual planting in there as well. And then look at my sweet little irises, y'all. They love this area. I bet by tomorrow, those little buds will be open and we will have some blooms. So again, this is great. Like this year, maybe in the fall, I can go ahead and divide these, spread them out, spread the love somewhere, because you can see that they have grown slap up next to the metal edging. And so now would be a good time, this fall rather, to go ahead and divide them and move them around. And then of course, having the edgeworthia, nice, put her back in her place and brought her down a little bit. But everything is coming together so nicely. Somebody just asked me if, how my ranunculus did, because remember in the fall, Mimi and I planted both anemones, which are doing great. The anemones are doing great. And then we did ranunculus. I have tried planting ranunculus for 2 years now. I've never had one come up. So I'm about to the point where I'm done with ranunculus. Anemones do wonderful for me. Ranunculus was a complete and total utter failure, so we didn't even have one do anything. Maybe they did sprout, and I think the bunnies kept eating them. Anyway, they did not do well, but everything else back here is just coming along quite nicely. And these daffodils, oh my gosh, y'all, they are just lovely. I do not remember what variety they are. They are naturalizing quite nice. So that means you can see how the mounds are getting nice and big. And then we are going to be moving these 3 summerific lilac crushes to the backyard bed here in maybe this week. We'll see. Sometime soon. And when we do, because it will inevitably pull up these daffodils because the root system on the hibiscus is so great. But that's totally fine with me, because what I'm going to do is when they come up, and I'll probably dig them up first, and then we'll dig up the summerific hibiscus. Dig them up, I'm going to divide them, and I think what I'm going to do is share the love and plant them between the doozies and the Incredibles. And so they'll be going down through here, because I think that would be really pretty. These daffodils have been here for quite a number of years, and they have the most lovely fragrance. When I was planting the petunias the other day, I kept going, oh my gosh, it smells so good, because they have this sweet fragrance of like a honeysuckle gardenia kind of fragrance. Oh, they were absolutely lovely to smell. So everything's coming along quite nicely. Very happy with it. The end of this week, I think we're supposed to hit like 86. So, and tonight we're supposed to get some rain, so that will be fantastic. Get everybody watered in, nice and happy. But yes, it has been a good morning, very productive. I am slowly chipping away at the to-do list. We are getting there, and Mimi's going to come down this afternoon after lunch, and we're going to do some weeding. I've got a flower bed that's being absolutely taken over by some weeds, and so she and I are just going to go on hands and knees and just pull those weeds, y'all. Y'all have an amazing day. If you have found this fun, informative, inspirational, we would love it if you would like and subscribe to Gardening with Creekside. That way you don't miss those 5 videos we do every single week. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.